Salutations, Legion of Doom. Welcome to Podcast of the Storm, where social awkward outcasts, crazy riddles, and all-around nerds convene to talk and debate all things pop culture. With me, as always, is my co-host, the nerdy occultist, aka the Authenticator, Dalton L. Mortimer.
Good evening, folks, and R.I.P. Agatha Harkness. Hopefully she's not gone.
And I'm your host, / Time Lord Wannabe, the brainstormer of pop culture. How's everyone doing tonight?
I am good. There's a part of my brain that's still screaming about WandaVision, but we'll get over it sooner or later.
And the rest of my brain is saying, shit the thick hip.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. It's gonna be a while before we actually cover WandaVision, honestly.
Yeah, because Brainstormer still needs to see it. So he still gets to enjoy the greatness that is Catherine Hahn's performance as Agatha Harkness. And if she doesn't get an Emmy for that, I'm rioting. Fuck everything if she doesn't get an Emmy for that. Because she is the only, in retrospect, she's the only watchable part of that show. Yeah, moving on.
Hello, Ed Brewer. Good to see you. Well, quick note aside before we get into just the catch up from February, where everything decided to fucking go on.
Yeah, because we can go weeks of like nothing worthwhile to talk about. But the second we turn our backs and like focus on a theme month for 5 minutes, everything just goes. A watched news cycle never spawned, I guess.
Yeah. So yeah, we're basically playing catch up for this month. We might cover some things if anything of note happens in March.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, it is our 2-year anniversary.
Yep. 104 episodes, 1 episode a week. Therefore, 52 weeks a year, 2 years.
Yeah, that is an accomplishment, honestly.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately, we're not going to make like a super big spectacle of this year because, again, we got so much stuff to cover. So,
yeah. Also, we just did our 100th episode special, so it would feel sort of redundant if we did one now. So, yeah.
Yeah, maybe next year we'll do a 3-year. Hopefully, if we don't have a pile up.
Or you know, when we get to 5 years, that'll definitely be something worth paying attention to.
So yeah, let's cover some of the stuff that again we didn't cover because we were doing Valentine's stuff.
Which of course, you know, spoilers for the first thing we're covering, the Gina Carano thing. That was the big showstopper when we weren't looking. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so this is from the Hollywood Reporter. This is written by Ryan Parker / Aaron Couch. This was published February 10th, 2021. Mandalorian star Gina Carano fired amid social media controversy.
And to all those who are getting offended and baying for her blood. Yeah, no, fuck you.
Yeah, okay, initial thoughts, it is kind of stupid, honestly, because it's, for one thing, it's not a controversy.
Yeah.
Like, a legit controversy, I mean.
Yeah, it's some people reacting to neutral shit as though it should be controversial and
Yeah.
assuming that makes it so.
Uh, no, I had some, but I lost it, so it'll come back
Yeah.
to me sometime.
My general thoughts is the thoughts and opinions of someone expressed outside of their work should not affect their work as long as they can do their freaking job and do it well.
Yeah,
She's an actor, so I care about her ability to portray characters. I don't care about her political views, even if they were really, really freaking weird and out there and toxic and shit. I do not care about her political views. Hell, way back in the day, I defended Max Bemis when he was on Moon Knight for saying ridiculous, stupid, and generally just wrong-headed shit because he was good at writing Moon Knight. And I would still, of course, he kind of lost his touch a little bit thereafter. But if he was actually good at his job, I would still be defending him, even though that guy is a few bars shy of a full fruitcake. If you take my meaning.
yeah. And the stuff I've seen in Geochrono Post doesn't really seem that
No,
bad.
it's nowhere near like Max Bemis levels
Yeah.
of
She's,
awkward cringe bullshit.
yeah, she's just expressing her opinion.
And to be fair, the way she expressed it probably wasn't the ideal way she should have expressed it, but the general point of what she was saying, which is people shouldn't be vilified for their political or philosophical opinions. Um, and again, that under the proviso of if it doesn't interfere with her job, then I don't care. Um, if it starts to interfere with her job, like she pulls a Kevin Sorbo and starts making a bunch of religious movies that are shit, then I will care because god damn that God's Not Dead franchise is the worst straw man of atheism I've ever seen, and I'm not even an atheist. But yeah, barring something like that, I don't care about your views and your own off hours. I'm sure there are people who just based on my opinions would want to, literally tie me to a stake probably, but I
Right.
I'm grateful that most of the Christians I know don't immediately default to you're gonna burn in hell every time I talk to them.
Hi, how you doing?
Yeah.
Um, nope, still don't have it. It was there, but it's gone.
Okay. Well, let's move forward and maybe something in the article will jog your memory.
Yeah. Okay. UTA has also dropped the actor who will no longer be part of the Star Wars galaxy, which is a shame because I think Cara Dune was like one of the more popular characters of the
Yeah,
Mandalorian.
she was an extremely likable character. Gina Carano as an actor is extremely attractive, which let's be honest, sex appeal does matter. And not only that, but The Mandalorian was basically the fandom's last lifeline for giving a shit about Star Wars. So good news, Disney. Basically you basically just took all the goodwill that the Luke Skywalker cameo at the end of Mandalorian season 2 got you, and you set it on fucking fire like it was one of the Jedi texts from Last Jedi. Congratulations, you had one last ember worth of fan support, and you just probably doused the majority of it. Now, again, I do not blame Lucasfilm itself for this. I blame Kathleen Kennedy for this because I doubt very highly that um Jon Favreau or Dave Filoni had anything to do with this. And quite honestly, at this point, if it's not from Jon Favreau or Dave Filoni, I don't fucking care because it's not my Star Wars. Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni appear to know what the fuck they're doing, but apart from those two, nobody else seems to know what the fuck they're doing. That being said, I do think Kathleen Kennedy should lose her job over this. She should lose her job over everything else she's done while in the vicinity of Lucasfilm too, but this in particular, because this is actually destroying someone's career over a badly phrased tweet. Moving on. Brainstorm?
Sorry. Okay, Ed Brewer. Undecided on this one. If you're working for me, I don't want your views to bring unwanted attention to my business. By all means, express your opinion, just not on my dime. I can agree with that, but I think that was
she wasn't expressing it in like a interview setting for the Mandalorian or at one of the parks or something. She was expressing it on her own personal social media. And there is some gray area because of course public figures like actors and writers and creatives and things, they're always going to be in the spotlight because they're public figures, but at the same time, you know, imagine if someone held you to the standard of everything you've ever said on social media. Um, I think it's just untenable. Social media is to an extent the public square, but just like if I don't know, not Ingmar Bergman, but the guy who was in Streetcar Named Desire, um, fucking classic actor whose name I simultaneously forgot. Marlon Brando. If Marlon Brando in the 1940s or something got up on a soapbox in the middle of a street corner and said, I think that Hitler guy has some good ideas, I wouldn't be expecting him to lose his job at MGM or wherever he was working at the time either, because that's not anything to do with it. Even if it's said in the public square, as long as it's not said in the context of the job you're doing, then I don't care. Like I said, Max Bemis can say whatever he likes about, um, people like me, including me probably. But if he's good at writing Moon Knight, I don't give a shit. As long as the shit you say and the shit you think doesn't make it into the books or the movies or whatever it is you're making, then I don't care. What I care about is the quality of the art. And what Gina Carano thought, apart from just being bog standard conservatism, which is not really anything particularly controversial, didn't really have any impact on her ability to be a good actress or to fulfill the fandom needs in The Mandalorian. So I don't care. If we truly want to play this game, we'll end up ruining most of the things we love. Like for example, one of my favorite characters in existence is Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange was created by Steve Ditko. Steve Ditko was a nut bar for the most part. He was very, very eccentric. He was very, very antisocial, and he hated mostly everyone. And despite the fact that I can empathize with that, that probably would have included me. Does that mean that I am now not allowed to enjoy Doctor Strange because Steve Ditko was a nut bar? No, it does not. Does it, does the usual shtick of, you know, H.P. Lovecraft was afraid of everyone, which included minorities, so he was racist. And therefore you can enjoy Call of Cthulhu or any of his other mythos works. Does that argument hold up? No, it doesn't, because his ability as a writer had nothing whatsoever to do with his ability to, gauge his misanthropy for humanity. So they're not, insofar as they're not related, I don't care. And I'm not going to purity spiral and police the philosophical and political perspectives of every person that I have respect for. Because aside from that, I'm weird and eccentric, and if I judged everyone on Earth by my standards, I'd probably end up losing most of my friends. And I don't have enough friends to lose. So there. Like the friends I have I kinda need because otherwise I will go insane, even more so than usual. So I'm not gonna shun and shame my friends over whatever disagreements we may have. Hell, I spent on Wednesday, me and Brainstorm were watching um Superman and Lois together, and I spent the most of the episode bitching because the characters were unlikable dickheads. But that doesn't change the fact that I would take a bullet for Brainstormer on any given day of the week if I had to. Yeah. On we move.
Okay, so Ed Brewer said a few things. Kind of need some. I don't know. There's a weird context here that I think I'm missing. Whoa, you censor me? Why? Okay, I'm out. Good luck to you both.
Wait, what?
I have no idea what that means.
We didn't, as far as I know, unless you said something that YouTube yeeted. Yeah, but for the record, Ed, if you see this, we don't moderate our comments at all.
I don't know how to do that at all.
Unless you said something that YouTube itself, um, yeah, unless you said something that YouTube itself had an issue with, we didn't do anything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but if that's some type of joke, could you clarify for us? Because
we have absolutely no interest in censoring anyone, and even really controversial shit is allowed in our comment section, unless YouTube itself decides to bitch.
You/someone redacted my statement. No, I'm.
Again, that may well have been YouTube, but it sure as hell wasn't us. Like on my life and on my honor, and on whatever else I hold dear, we had nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
Unless YouTube itself, unless YouTube itself had some issue with something.
Yeah.
Try saying whatever got redacted again, Ed, and see if it disappears, because that might just be YouTube being bitchy.
I came thinking you could not have possibly done such a thing. Again, I also have to reiterate that I have no idea how to do that at all.
I don't know how to do it, and even if I did, I wouldn't, because that's just stupid. Like I said, even shit I vehemently disagree. Like, even if you were to tell me I was gonna burn in hell someday, which you might be right about, I still wouldn't censor even that. Like, you could call me every dirty, evil name in the book, and I still wouldn't censor you. So I don't know where the fuck YouTube is getting off, but YouTube, it's our comment section. Let us handle it, please.
Yeah. Okay. Gina Carano will not be returning to The Mandalorian or the Star Wars Galaxy after sharing a post on social media implying that being a Republican today is like being Jewish during the Holocaust.
And again, that is a little bit of a off-color exaggeration, and it definitely wasn't the most efficacious way she could have phrased that, but in terms of cancel culture, she kind of has a point, for one thing. And for another thing, people this is the fundamental thing. As much as I get my jollies off by pointing out when people are being stupid, that in no way implies that they should not be allowed to say those things. Because freedom of speech implies the freedom to be wrong. Just as the freedom of speech implies the freedom to correct someone when they are wrong. That's the thing. My solution to the free speech issue, insofar as it is an issue, is always going to be more speech, not less. Because when someone is stupid or evil or however you want to put it, the best way to deal with that is by pointing out to as many people as possible that they're being stupid or evil or immoral or however you want to put it. Whatever standard you want to use, the best way to deal with a speech issue is, if you have the right to say that, I have the right to correct you. What should never happen is you are wrong, therefore you can shut the fuck up. As
Okay.
much as I might say that was really stupid, you should shut the fuck up, that's not a call for censorship. That is me saying your what you just said was so stupid that it kind of invalidates your position. But you are still free to say it, and you should still be free to say it. So yeah, while
Well,
Gina Carano's statement might not have been the most considered thing in the world,
well,
and
no,
while it
she
might have
didn't
been off
say a
color,
statement.
hmm?
She didn't say a statement. She retweeted a statement.
Okay, well, as much as it might imply something about her that she retweeted that, people have the freedom to be stupid, and the freedom to be wrong, and the freedom to be off color, and the freedom to say things that ultimately put their foot in their mouth.
Okay. Um, Ed Brewer. Okay, I was just saying, if I'm a business owner, I should be able to fire you for no reason other than I disagree with you. I gave a real world example in my previously deleted statement.
Um,
Did
I
we misspell that? Because I feel like that was misspelled. Like it should be shouldn't, or
unless you're saying you should. Okay, so okay, here's the thing with that. I disagree with you if you are saying a business owner should be able to fire someone on the grounds that they disagree with them. That is just fundamentally wrongheaded. Um, again, my standards and the standard that I think makes the most sense is, can you do this job? Then fine. If you can't do this job, then so be, there's the door. Um, Beyond that, I think the who's, what's, and whys of who and what a person is should have nothing to do with their employment. And again, this include at least for me, this includes people who I would vehemently disagree with. Like, if a person is a fundamentalist Christian and thinks that I should burn in hell, um, and I'm an employer who uh, needs a job done. If that person is the person most qualified to do the job, then I'm just gonna have to suck it up and disagree with them as vehemently as I can, but still suck it up. No one should be fired for their views, insofar as their views don't don't interfere with the job. Now, if I was running, say, an esoteric bookstore and said fundamentalist Christian person started, burning books or destroying the merchandise or telling my customer base that they were going to go to hell for engaging with my stock, then, that would be grounds for termination. But unless, and this is my standard, and other people are free to have different standards, but my standard is, unless your wrong-headed stupid shit interferes with the actual ability to do the job, then I don't care. Now, there is a gray area in the sense that, like, I've actually in the past, I had a nurse who did my baclofen pump refills, who was apparently an evolution denier, because I remember talking to him once about something, and he jokingly said, "Yeah, and humans are descended from monkeys. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge." And I'm just like, do you not think that? Because that stuff, that something like that genuinely does scare me. if you are a medical professional and you are a creationist, then that does at least raise a yellow flag. But there's still a gray area there as to whether I personally would fire that person or not. Again, as a client of that person, it scared me because if you if you if even if you are a creationist, if you're in the medical profession, you need to be aware that evolution is a thing. And if you are jokingly denying that whilst you're, administering medicine to somebody, that that to me strikes me as an ethical violation. People whose views are incompatible with science should not be engaged in the sciences, especially the medical sciences, because human lives are actually on the line with regard to the medical sciences. And again, that might be a gray area, and that's that's my standard and whatever. But
Right.
yeah.
Okay. So, Edward says, yes, you can fire someone if you disagree. It's my business. I don't need to keep you around if I disagree. It's weird. You are saying things that are true. I'm right, though, legally speaking.
Yeah, but if the laws don't make sense, then why do I care? Is the thing. Laws are to be amended when they don't make any fucking sense. Just like in the Southern South, in the 1950s under Jim Crow, you might have gotten away with firing someone because of their race, but it makes no logical sense, and it makes you and anyone who would support that a dipshit. In the same way, if you have a political disagreement with one of your employees, it is incumbent upon you as the employer to get the fuck over it. I'm sorry, but I am gonna make a stand for that. You don't get to police you don't get to police your employees' thoughts. I'm sorry, that just is not, it's the your civil liberties end where another's begin kind of thing. If you're policing if you're an employer and you choose not to employ someone because of their beliefs in a way that, again, in a way that doesn't interfere with the actual functioning of the business, then you are a dipshit and your civil liberties don't apply in that situation.
right.
Again, if they actually if if that political disagreement starts getting in the way of the business, like say, you hire somebody who's a dyed-in-the-wool Biden supporter and they start destroying your merchandise that's Trump related or something, then you fire them because that means that their thoughts are translating into action, and you can police someone based on their actions. You cannot and should not be able to police someone based on their thoughts or the expression of those thoughts. Full stop. And the law can just go hang as far as I'm concerned with that, because that law needs to be amended as soon as possible. Where the law is wrong, it needs to be fixed, because that's why we live in a democracy or a representative republic. When the law gets shit wrong, it needs to be changed.
Okay, so Ed Brewer, correct no thought, please. Just out loud speaking, please.
Again, I would vehemently disagree with you. Whether it's the thinking of a thought or the expression of a thought, you don't get to police that shit. There's some leeway if the expression gets in the way of doing a job. Like if your business is targeted towards children and a person is swearing like a sailor every 5 minutes, then you might have a reasonable cause to get rid of them. But the person saying a contrary opinion to yours, even if you're the employer, as the employer, because you have more power in the situation, you need to be more responsible with it. Which basically means if you choose to employ someone, you need to be the adult in the room and get the fuck over yourself as and when your own personal insecurities get in the way of shit.
Mainly just fire someone who sucks at their job. That's kind of all you really need to do.
Yeah, again, the only question for me is, does this interfere with the person's job or their ability to correctly and effectively do that job?
Right.
If not, then I don't care, and anyone who does care is a childish dipshit who
Okay,
needs to get over themselves.
I'm calling it. We're done talking about this right now. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. It's just there's no need for this. I'm pretty sure we can agree that Gino Carano getting fired for a social media thing is stupid.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Moving forward. And if you want to post something, just go to our Discord and post it there if you want.
Or, you can still obviously you can still say it in the comments, unless YouTube decides to be a dipshit again. In which case, just private message us or go to Discord and we'll talk about it later.
Yeah. All right. Gina Carano is not currently employed by Lucasfilm, and there are no plans for her to be in the future. Lucasfilm spokesperson said in a statement, nevertheless, her social media posts denigrating people based on their cultural and religious identities are abhorrent and unacceptable.
But apparently you can discriminate against Gina Carano based on her political opinions. And again, this is where I lose my shit, because the employer has a higher ethical standard than the employee because he is the one choosing to employ someone. Which means if your employee says something that you disagree with on their own time or in a way that isn't going to interfere with your business, then you need to grow the fuck up.
I'm also very much sure that they're blowing this out of proportion and more just trying to make it seem like she was fired for quote unquote right reasons.
Yeah, and this is a logical fallacy in the philosophical circles that we refer to as special pleading. I.e., when we do this is different because of reasons. Yeah, no. Be consistent with your standards or get the fuck out. If you're not going to be consistently rational, then no one is under any obligation to be, taking you seriously.
Yeah. All right. Carano has been dropped as a client by UTA, an agency spokesperson confirmed. On Wednesday, the hashtag, Wednesday last month, the hashtag Fire Gina Carano was trending following an Instagram post from the outspoken conservative actor and former mixed martial artist that was met with severe backlash.
The fact that she's a conservative does not matter whatsoever. And I'm not even fucking conservative. I was a Bernie bro and still policy-wise on the left. But the fact that she's conservative doesn't matter. The fact that she expressed something on her own private social media that does not change or affect her ability to do her job in any meaningful way means that she should not have been fired. And honestly, this shouldn't even be a news story. People with differing opinions exist, and only prudish, childish, puritanical dipshits are so short-sighted that they can't handle the fact that other people with different worldviews exist.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's the right wing in the 80s and 90s, whining about D&D and rock and roll are going to cause our children to worship Satan, or whether it's the modern day social justice movement going, she's a conservative and she compared conservatives to Jews in Nazi Germany, therefore she should be fired. You're both wrong. Fuck off. Your morality has no bearing here. We have a society we need to keep stable. Fuck off.
Mm. The post has since been deleted, but screenshots were widely shared by users on social media who called for her firing from the hit Disney Plus Star Wars show. Again, that's just very stupid,
Yep.
honestly.
Yeah. Again, you need to learn that other people with different worldviews exist and that they should be allowed to exist. And again, if she started doing what Kevin Sorbo did and being like, well, since I'm a conservative Christian, I'm only gonna act in conservative Christian movies, then she would be in the wrong. That would be her being a childish dipshit. But because she didn't actually bring her conservatism in any way into her job, um, anyone calling for her firing is a childish, prudish, puritanical dipshit, and they need to be told to fuck off until they learn better.
Mm. Yep. All right. This is not the first time Carano, who played former Rebel Alliance soldier Cara Dune on The Mandalorian, has been the focus of social media ire from her political comments. Last November, she issued contentious tweets, one in which she mocked mask wearing amid the novel coronavirus pandemic, and another in which she falsely suggested voter fraud occurred during the 2020 presidential election. I mean,
That is a matter of conjecture still. It is not a open and shut case, okay? And treating it as though it is a settled matter when it has not effectively been settled is exactly the kind of puritanical douchebaggery that needs to get the fuck out.
yeah, like,
You can't treat an open question as though it's a closed certainty. And if you do, you are being myopic and childish.
um, yeah, I got none. Thought I had some, but I don't. They have been looking for a reason to fire her for 2 months, and today was the final straw. A source with knowledge of Lucasfilm's thinking, tells the Hollywood Reporter. That's stupid.
Yeah, again, you you cannot fire anyone for the holding of an opinion or the expressing of that opinion unless it actually impacts the nature of your business. And any other standard is irrational and makes no sense. And even if even if any other standard made any fucking sense, which it doesn't, um she didn't say this while she was at work. She said it while she was in the privacy of her own goddamn social media. And it in a way impacts her ability as an actress. So get over it, Disney.
Bad City stuff. The nacho fries are back on the menu. You can't escape. Can't escape. Can't escape the craving. The craving.
Well, I've never had those, so I don't know the craving that I'm supposed to be having. So I can, in fact, escape. Haha.
Which restaurant is that? Because I don't.
Taco Bell.
Oh,
And this is extremely ironic. No.
racist bastard. Um, again, like, if she was bad at her job, or again, did like Dalton said, started trying to incorporate her thinking in like the show for her character or anything, like to be a
Yeah.
mouthpiece or anything, then that would be a problem. But she was willing to put that aside to do her job.
Yeah, in all honesty, and speaking of a example of what what would have actually been grounds to fire her, but on the other side, frankly, in a world that made sense, Brie Larson would have been fired for forcing intersectional feminist diatribes into Carol Danvers as Captain Marvel. Um, that would have actually made sense, but of course, that's the dominant moral zeitgeist. so we can't ever have a problem with it, apparently. But yeah, I ideally no one should be allowed to bring their morality into their job, especially not when they're a public figure, unless it's somehow relevant. Like, it makes sense for a priest to be talking about a religion. It doesn't really make sense for anyone other than a priest to be talking about their religion while they're at work, because, the priest's job is literally their religion. But if the religion in question or the ideology in question isn't your job, then it doesn't have any place at work. Now, that doesn't mean you shouldn't be allowed to express it in in private discussions. Like if you're having a conversation with one of your fellow employees and you bring it up, that to me is totally fine. And if you get fired for that, you are well within your rights to sue whoever fires you for that, because that, again, don't police people's thoughts or the expression of those thoughts. But barring that, yeah, unless you're actually making a living talking about XYZ philosophy or religion, it honestly shouldn't have any place at your work. Nor should anyone else be allowed to inflict or impinge motives and bullshit upon you because you hold those beliefs. Again, it's sort of a you're at your work to do a job, and the question your employer should have is always and pretty much only, is this going to affect your job? Like, I wouldn't take any job that involves manual labor because I can't do manual labor, and I would be complaining every 5 minutes because to me manual labor is my definition of hell. So there. But, if somebody else is doing the job and they have a political opinion or a philosophical opinion that the owner of the business doesn't agree with, then the owner of the business is just going to have to deal with it. Because that's not grounds for firing, as long as the person can do the job and does it effectively.
Right. Okay. Mandalorian debuted on Disney Plus in November 2019 and helped power the streaming service to impressive subscription numbers. Carano's Cara Dune became an instant fan favorite, with the actor praised for bringing a calm strength to the role. But her tweets have also made her a controversial figure among Star Wars fandom.
No, it really hasn't. It's made her a controversial figure among non-fans and people who care more about their political ideology than about the source material, but the actual fandom has embraced her and either doesn't give a fuck about her political opinions, which I think is the rational position, or some of them even actually enjoy the fact that she was allowed to do that job even though she had those opinions. Of course, it's different now because a bunch of puritanical douchebags made it so, but at least for the time being, that was actual representation of diversity of thought, which to me is the only diversity that matters. Diversity of thought.
Mm-hmm. According to the sources, Lucasfilm planned to unveil Carano as the star of her own Disney Plus series during a December Investors Day presentation, but scrapped those plans following her November tweets. Multiple Mandalorian spin-offs are in the works from executive producers Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, including Rangers of the New Republic, which could have potentially starred Carano.
So, in other words, Disney shot themselves in the foot for arbitrary philosophical and moral reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Why am I not surprised?
But after the latest round of social media posts, the decision to cut ties with the actor came swiftly. Carano came up in the world of MMA and has appeared in high-profile projects such as Deadpool and Fast and Furious 6. Stevens, so
Wait, she was in Deadpool?
yeah, she was Angel Dust. No, not Angel Dust. Yeah, first movie. She was the big. She was the big female fighter that went up against Colossus.
Damn,
You didn't know that?
I did not know that, but well done, Gina.
Yeah, that's kind of the first time I've ever seen her.
I think Cara Dune was the first time I saw her.
Steven Soderbergh cast her in 2011's Haywire film. Yeah, okay. Yeah, again, I got. It's a really stupid thing what they did.
Yeah, and again, Disney, all you did there was take all that goodwill that you built up from the Luke Skywalker cameo and burn it to the ground.
Yeah.
Because whether you like it or not, the people with whom you disagree with politically and philosophically are a part of your customer base. And if we're being entirely honest, they are the core of your customer base, or they would be if you cared about actually serving your customer base. But now you took that last shred of hope and enjoyment people were getting out of Star Wars, and you pissed on it for arbitrary moral reasons. So welcome to the point at which a large part of even that fan base yeeted itself from you because you were being a dipshit. So now the actual core of Star Wars fans that are willing to tolerate you, Disney, is even smaller than it was previously. Well done.
Yep.
And again, I do not blame Jon Favreau or Dave Filoni for this. I blame Kathleen Kennedy for this, and Kathleen Kennedy should lose her job over this. It's long past time that Kathleen Kennedy has proven that her arbitrary moral standards mattered more to her than her job.
Also, she's just
So
proved inept at running the Star Wars franchise.
yeah, and yeah, and it's proven to get in the way of her ability to run the thing. So show her the door, please, and put Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni in charge because they actually know and care about Star Wars, and they have a decent reputation amongst the fan base, and also ideally give Gina Carano her job back. Now, I get that that's probably not going to happen because you're under public scrutiny of the Twitter mob, but at the very least, fire Kathleen Kennedy.
Well, I
Make it
hope.
very clear that this is the reason why you're firing her, or one of the reasons you're firing her, and give Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni her job.
Yeah. Well, honestly, I hope she gets more work because she is a good actress and she deserves it.
Yeah, unfortunately now it seems like the only work she's going to be able to get is in the conservative bubble, which is sad for her because I'm fairly certain that despite her conservatism, she doesn't consider it a crucial enough part of her personality that she would restrict herself in that way.
Or you know what? I'm gonna say probably indie scene as well.
Yeah. Basically anyone who can get away with not giving a shit about the social justice mafia is where she'll get her work from.
Yeah.
Which side note, Gina, if you ever find your way to this corner of the internet and you want a interview with a fan base that actually cares about you and wants to see you do well, just let any one of us know. Like I can almost guarantee you that somebody like Anglantine or somebody like Nerdrotic, or even Geeks and Gamers, even though I don't really like Geeks and Gamers all that much, you'll get actual fan love from this side of the community.
Yeah.
Even those of us that aren't conservative. Yeah, hi. I am policy wise on the left, but this is still some bullshit, and your being conservative doesn't matter to me.
Honestly, I hope she gets snatched up by Warner Brothers and gets to work in like the DC.
That would be the most sensible If the world made sense, that would be how this would work.
Mhm.
Honestly, who would you want her to play?
Oh,
That's a good
we had
question.
a discussion once before. Remember? I think I wanted to cast her as like Hawk Girl. Shahira.
That would be really good casting. Yes.
Yeah.
Um.
Honestly, she would be a pretty obvious pick for Wonder Woman, but I didn't want to do that.
Well, that and also Gal Gadot is already
Yeah.
well and truly solidified herself in that role. So
Mm.
that's not. Although, honestly, she wouldn't be a bad pick for Cersei. In like Wonder Woman 3 or whatever.
Well, what
She,
about Donna Troy?
I mean, she could work. I'd prefer Donna Troy to be a little younger.
Yeah.
But honestly, now that I'm imagining Gina Carano as Cersei, it is all I want to. It's literally all I want to see her in. And if you have any sense, Warner Brothers, introduce her singing "Lulu's Back in Town." Gina Carano as Cersei singing "Lulu's Back in Town" would give the entire internet a fangasm
Right.
because that's
Um,
because that's how she was introduced in Justice League Unlimited.
mhm. Okay. So moving on to our next topic.
Hmm.
Okay. So let's check. Superman and Lois review of episode 1. I've watched just a few more times, just episode 1 because I haven't watched like the second one and stuff. So
I
yeah,
started watching episode 2. I haven't finished it yet.
yeah. I've watched it a few more times, like just so I could be able to properly critique it.
Hmm.
Um, Overall, and like I will give my opinions as a Superman fan myself, but I don't want to start off with that.
Hmm.
Um, Overall, I don't. It's a good first start for this show. Also, anyone who like doesn't like the CW shows like Supergirl or whatever, legitimately, I
Yeah,
do.
this is a much better, higher quality of show. Yeah.
I would say make sure to go in watching this like it's its own show, which it is, obviously, but
Yeah.
I feel like that needs to be stated.
Yeah. That being said, speaking for myself, if you're anything like me, which most people aren't, but if you're anything like me, um, you will hate the majority of the characters at least for the first 40 minutes of the episode. Um,
Um, okay, that's a good discussion point, honestly, because I think Dawn's looking at it from a very different perspective than I am, because and sorry, Dawn, if I insult you, doubt it, but still,
yeah.
he's an emotionalist, cold-hearted, distant bastard. Does not care for human connection, mostly.
I mean, broadly speaking, you are not wrong. So I will take no issue with this characterization.
Right, but
That be that
okay, and again, I'm gonna bring up the whole like Wednesday thing because we watched it on Wednesday
yeah.
together. Um, he doesn't.
And Brainstormer immediately regretted it because I was enraged by the stupidity and general unlikability of the majority of the characters.
Yeah, and also just because I don't think you get people, to be honest. Again, I say that as his friend.
Yeah, one of my best friends. If anyone's curious, and this is this is the sad irony of anyone who chooses to be my friend. I am not a good person. I am not a likable person. I don't really do human connection very well. So I apologize to anyone who is willing to be my friend. I know I'm not the easiest person to get along with, and I love more than you will ever know that you put up with my bullshit idiosyncrasies.
But yeah. But okay, but overall, I think it's a good first start for a show like this.
Yeah.
It is a little rocky. I'm not gonna lie. Some of the effects are a little off. Um, and the writing could be better, more subtle and stuff. And like it's still a CW show, and so it has that issue of it's a little too melodramatic in some parts.
Yeah. There are moments with Morgan Edge, and in particular a redneck character who's basically the hype man for Morgan Edge, where I think they might be trying to do a Trump allegory type thing.
Um,
And again, I might be wrong, but that does seem to be kind of the route they're going with
Tony
Morgan Edge.
chasing ghosts there.
Yeah, again, I admit that that might be the case, but if you're the kind of person who rolls your eyes whenever you see like a possibly anti-Trump screed in things, just keep your eye out for a redneck a small town redneck character who's basically a straw man for what they imagine Trump supporters to be, and Morgan Edge who's basically um kind of evil Donald Trump. Again, and I might be wrong, and it might just be a subtle dig by the writers, but that seems to be kind of the route they went with it. And again, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but it's there if you're the kind of person who rolls your eyes at that shit. Um,
Yeah, I really regret showing you that show now.
well, I mean, don't regret showing it to me because I enjoyed watching it, even though a large part of it was me mentally beating my head against a wall, going, "Will somebody please punch Jonathan in the face?"
Or you being kind of a projecting jackass? Either way, like it's a good show. Like I'm not gonna lie, like I do think the first half hour of the
Yeah,
first episode is it's slow. It's the pacing is super weird. You know, like it's a little too quick.
I will say this, as somebody who doesn't usually like Superman stuff all that much, this show did make me want more Superman stuff in it. Um, Mostly because anytime Superman stuff wasn't going on, I had to deal with four characters that I didn't like and one character that I did like constantly being shit on.
Yeah,
But
I would. Yeah, Don doesn't know how to do family well, unlike me. Who I'm gonna be honest, the Kents kind of remind me of my family a little bit and how we interact with each other.
yeah, I again that may very well be the case, but from my perspective, yeah, I mostly I mean, Lois sort of was able to talk sense some of the time, and eventually Clark did get to the point where he was like, I should stop treating my one son like the golden boy and the other child like the broken one who needs to be fixed all the time, which, made me like him a lot more, but at least for the first half an hour or so, it was all one child can do no wrong and the other child is the freak of the family, I guess.
You know, this reminded me a lot of episode 50.
Yeah, well, apologies.
Nah,
Add it to my ledger of reasons to be nuggied when we do actually meet up, I guess.
yeah. But no, as a Superman fan, I really like this show so far from just episode one because it has a lot of heart, and I'm just gotten so used to seeing like depictions of Superman that are just shit, and with basically just make him like a blank god, messiah, being, whatever the fuck those idiots.
Yeah, whatever the plot needs him to be, basically.
Yeah, they don't treat him like a person or a character. This actually works, and yeah, like it has potential. I do think it it needs a little bit more time to cook.
Yeah. I will say from what I've seen of the second episode is already a little bit of an improvement. on the first one. Even though they try to make me feel sorry for Jonathan, and that just is not going to happen for the foreseeable future. It's going to make me get out the world's smallest violin, a la SpongeBob, every time they try to make me do that. But maybe I'll come around to Jonathan. It's going to take a lot, but maybe I'll come around.
Again, Dalton doesn't human very well, so he doesn't understand human emotions.
And that may well be the case, but still, I want I want someone to punch Jonathan Kent, or rather, this version of Jonathan Kent in the face repeatedly until he gets the galactic fuck over himself. And any attempts to make me feel sorry for him until he has learned to get the fuck over himself will be met with the world's smallest violin.
I don't. Shut up!
Yeah, fair.
Yeah. Overall, Superman and Lois. Actually, I should bring that up because I remember someone bringing that up. Really stupid thing is that the show is called Superman and Lois, and someone like brought that up as a negative.
Yeah, somehow someone who's ostensibly supposed to be on our side implied that meant that they were going to basically nerf Clark and make him pussy whipped or something. And they implied that they were gonna like make Lois an unreasonable badass, which has several problems. One, barring the very, very earliest part of the Golden Age where they didn't really know what to do with her character, Lois Lane has always been a badass. I'm sorry, it just is the case. She is a badass. And I mean, you need look no further than the Superman the animated series version of Lois, which to me is always going to be the gold standard for how you portray Lois Lane until somebody manages to do it better, which I have not yet seen. Yeah, Lois is a badass, and secondly, Clark and Lois will always go together in the same way that Spider-Man and Gwen or MJ, depending on who you want to pair them with, will go together. In the same way that Kent and Enzo will always go together. In regards to the Doctor Fate mythos, which I realize I'm the only one on Earth who cares about, but never mind. In the same way that Doctor Strange and Clea will always go together.
Well, I just didn't want you to run on or anything. So
yeah.
I think points made, obviously. Yeah.
Yeah. The characters are defined by their relationships to other characters, and it's hard to get more justifiably iconic than the relationship between Clark Kent and Lois Lane. It simply is.
Yeah. Again, like overall thoughts on like the first episode. A lot of promise, could stand to a few rewrites. A few what's the word? Just a little more time to cook.
Yeah, a few more passovers in the writers' room.
Yeah. The fun thing is this doesn't have a lot of problem with other shows I've seen, which is like too many cooks in the kitchen. There's not. It has like it doesn't have a lot of like plot points or anything that it's trying to set up, which I respect. It's just a few simple things, and it's going off. Like, and again, like it's a pilot, and so I think that's kind of also the reason why it wasn't that great.
As far as pilots go, it's really not that bad, especially not in the modern era. And if you're not like me and you don't want to punch at least 3 out of the 4 main characters within about 5 minutes of the episode, then you'll like it fine. If you're anything like me and you can't stand those characters, then that might take some getting used to. But
here's the thing: the CW is airing edited down, shorter versions of Superman and Lois episodes, and then releasing the extended cut versions on the app the day after. We watch them. I watch them on the CW thing.
Yeah.
So we're watching the full thing. Then we're not watching them on TV.
Yeah, I waited until it was available on my on-demand channel. Short version is I have Spectrum TV, and Spectrum has an on-demand channel, but usually about the day after a something airs on TV, it's available on the on-demand channel if it's a popular enough show or movie or whatever. So yeah, and I don't think Brainstormer's version of it had any more content than mine did. So I'm assuming I got the full thing, unless neither of us did, which would be weird. But yeah, barring editing Deus Ex Machina, we got the whole thing, and
It
yeah,
was good. I liked it.
yeah. I and again, it was a very weird experience for me because it made me want more Superman stuff.
Yeah.
Um,
Mhm.
and that's not a usual reaction that I ever have for anything.
Right.
So
Yeah. Although again, this is just like we're reviewing the pilot, none really else. We're probably not going to review the
yeah.
whole series. This was just this.
Well, we might depending on how the audience reacts to this, we might after season 1 is over, like do a season review, maybe.
Maybe again, it all really just depends.
Yeah.
Um, Mainly, I wanted to do this because we reviewed we did the trailer before, so
Yeah, and we suffered through Batwoman, so we figured how bad could this be, and
done.
it was nowhere in the vicinity of Batwoman level
Never,
bad.
never,
So
that never bring that show up again. Um, Entertain our guests for a moment because I have to step out for a sec.
okay. I can't really see the chat because my screen is frozen and StreamYard is a bitch, so unfortunately I can't react to what's being said in chat, but I will attempt to fill the air until Brainstormer comes back.
Yeah, just sing or something.
Let me see. Let's see. What can I sing that is thematically appropriate? Um, where have all the good men gone, and where are all the gods? Where's the streetwise Hercules to fight the rising odds? Isn't there a white knight upon a fiery steed? Late at night I toss and I turn and I dream of what I need. I need a hero. I'm hoping out for a hero till the end of the night. He's gotta be strong and he's gotta be fast and he's gotta be fresh from the fight. I need a hero. I'm hoping out for a hero till the morning light. He's gotta be short and it's gotta be soon and he's gotta be larger than life. Larger than life. Somewhere after midnight. Whoa. Okay. I forget the rest of that song now. God damn it. It's one of my favorite songs too, and that's annoying. Um, God damn it. That annoys me that I can't think of that. It's one of my favorite songs to listen to, and I can't think of the rest of it. God damn it. Um, hopefully Brainstormer will be on his way back shortly, so I don't have to find her. Um, I feel like if I knew it well enough, I would sing the Smallville title song, but I don't know that song well enough to sing it, unfortunately. All I can remember is the "Save Me" part, because that's the part that everyone remembers from the Smallville theme, but I don't know the rest of it. Oh, dun, dun, dun. Dun, dun. Let's me think. What else? What else can I say that is worth saying whilst Brainstormer is off doing whatever Brainstormer is doing? Just trying to avoid the dead air.
I'm back.
Za.
Yeah, had to help with groceries.
Ah.
So still kind of on Superman. And moving on to our next topic. It's loading. Hold on.
Yeah.
Something that kind
And
of
I'm gonna jump out and jump back in so that I can actually see the screen.
okay. 7.
Okay.
All right. Let me put up. Yeah. So speaking of, granted, this was a more recent thing, like within the last week, I believe. That was mentioned. Talked about. It's from Deadline. Superman reboot in the works at Warner Brothers with Ta-Nehisi Coates writing, J.J. Abrams producing. This is by Anthony De La Astro. It's published February 26, 2021. I have no words. I can't have any words.
Yeah, somewhere mystery and just some guy feel the disturbance in the force.
Yeah, I'm sure they're already making videos about it.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure they're already in the well, at least yeah, Mr. E has not made a video in a long while. Now, granted, I haven't made a video in a long while either, so I guess people in glass houses shouldn't throw stones.
Right.
But also, he should make more videos.
Right. Of course, I had something, but I can't. Well, let's read this, and maybe I'll form more of a logical opinion. Deadline has confirmed that author Ta-Nehisi Coates is writing a Superman reboot feature for. Hold on, let me read that again. Deadline has confirmed that author Ta-Nehisi Coates is writing a Superman reboot feature for Warner Brothers and DC, which J.J. Abrams is producing under his Bad Robot label.
J.J. Abrams and Ta-Nehisi Coates together is enough to make me want to immediately just pop a cap in my own ass. That just...
Right, okay. I'll give my opinions as a Superman fan later. But from a practical standpoint, it's very stupid.
Yeah.
Because Ta-Nehisi Coates doesn't know how to write superheroes, let alone people.
I find it a little hard to believe that he even knows how to write anything. To be entirely honest with you, he doesn't seem to care about the quality of his writing. He only seems to care about what his writing is, quote unquote, saying.
Oh, for the record, just context. If anyone doesn't know who Ta-Nehisi Coates is, which, I mean, you guys are watching our podcast, so you kind of have an idea of him.
Yeah, you're likely already in the know as to who Ta-Nehisi Coates is, but the short version is he is the black male equivalent of Zoe Quinn, basically.
Right. Okay, hold on. Let me.
Or Heather Rantos.
Just give me a second to look him up real quick. So because he's a New York Times writer, I believe. Mostly has written like novels and stuff that is about race.
Yeah.
He did.
Side note: nobody of any worth, of any actual substance as a human being, gives a shit about demographic information. Okay, just so we're clear.
Right.
Race and sex and gender and all of the rest of it are the least important aspects of who you are as a person.
Okay, so give me 1 sec. Yeah, so he's a neat, American author, journalist. Atlantic, not New York Times. One of his books were published by the New York Times, but. Okay, so he wrote for the Atlantic. Wrote about a lot of cultural, social, political issues, particularly regarding African Americans and white supremacy. That's on his Wikipedia, apparently.
Okay, white supremacy in the modern West effectively does not exist. The KKK has fewer than 1,000 members in America, and the only like widely known white supremacist or ethnostatist or whatever you want to call it in the world at the moment is Richard Spencer, and he is a joke and a childish, tantruming, two-dimensional comic book villain of a human being.
Right.
As well he should be, because he's pathetic in every sense of the word. But yeah, that's how far you have to dig to find anyone who's a legit white supremacist.
Right. Okay. But yeah, he's written a few novels and stuff. Not really anything of I've not read. Honestly, I only know him from in the geek or comics sphere. He has been primarily known to write for Black Panther, and I believe like 2018-19, he wrote for Captain America, which is, which
was basically White American Guilt, the comic.
Right. Okay. I would also like to point out that I have not read any of his stuff because I had no intention to. Even though, like, those are some really cool characters, and I hate what he would. I'm pretty sure he did a lot of stupid shit with those characters, obviously.
Yeah. Again, his run of Captain America was basically Guilt, the comic.
Right. But basically, if he's. I mean, one can argue like, Superman and Captain America are pretty much the same characters, right?
In terms of like their personality and mannerisms and everything, yeah.
Yeah. Well, Obviously, that's what I meant. Generally, they
Yeah.
are the same character, somewhat.
They're cut from the same cloth, essentially.
Yeah.
It's aw shucks, mom, baseball, apple pie, basically the 1950s equivalent of like a Golden Boy. So yeah.
Right. My point. Um, you we're basically going to begin the same with what he did with Captain America with Superman.
Yeah.
Granted, there are rumors that I've heard what they wanted to do, and we'll get to
Guilt
that.
the movie.
Right. But it's going to be the same thing with like Zack Snyder and Man of Steel. Is they're not going to write for the character; they're going to write the character to fit them.
Yeah. Yeah. In Zack Snyder's case, it's I'm a Randian objectivist, therefore we need to give Superman a reason to want to not kill people because it's not like basic human empathy exists or should be heeded in any meaningful way.
Right.
Um,
Oh,
and in Ta-Nehisi Coates' case, it's gonna be I'm so privileged because I have all this power and I must use it to help the downtrodden as defined by your average critical theory / sociology professor.
Also, J.J. Abrams. I mean, he tried to do one in the early 2000s called Flyby. There's like some videos I've seen on YouTube about it, like documentary and stuff. It honestly
Yeah,
didn't sound bad when he wanted to do something like that back then.
yeah. The problem with J.J. Abrams is he is very good at providing passable, mediocre um content to things, but he's not good at creativity, inspiration, or like actual like he can get the basic gist of storytelling right, but beyond that, no. Um,
Yeah.
and if you give him any restrictions or limitations, what you end up getting isn't even passable. It's just bad.
Well, he's not directing; he's producing it, which means he might
Yeah,
even have bigger control over it.
yeah. Which probably means he's gonna have less direct involvement, which is probably a good thing. And God
Um,
only knows who's actually gonna be directing the darn thing.
right. Okay. Wait. Hold on. Let me. Yeah. Yeah. He's just producing. Hannah Meghela will serve as producer. No plot yet and no attachments, despite the fact that we've heard how Henry Cavill is eager to get back to the Cape.
And I mean, good for Henry Cavill. Can somebody please give him something to actually work with?
Yeah, like okay,
Um,
he's a good actor. It's just like all the time he keeps getting shit.
yeah, he's trying to make the best of something that
Um,
simply cannot work, and that's the sad thing. It's kind of like Batfleck. I have no doubt in my mind that Ben Affleck, if he were left to his own devices, could be an amazing Batman. But he's never actually allowed to be a good Batman. He has
right.
to play the hand that's dealt him. So yeah.
Uh, damn it. Right. Yeah. Right. I was gonna bring up the example for Henry Cavill. Um, Guy Ritchie's Man from Uncle movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good movie, by the way. Everyone should check that out.
Yeah, it's good.
Henry Cavill plays a character called Napoleon Solo. Yeah. Um, and he's good in that. Like, he's witty, he's charming. Like, again, like you give an actor shit, they're going to give a shit performance, no matter how good they are.
Yeah. And between Zack Snyder and the bullshit restrictions of Warner Brothers themselves, they didn't give him anything to work with, so he turned in a crappy performance.
Although I do feel bad that they are probably going to axe Henry Cavill as Superman too, so he'll never really get a chance to really prove himself.
Yeah, again, it's the same problem as the Batfleck thing. Like in a world where Warner Brothers could get their shit together and learn not to meddle, um, both Henry Cavill and Ben Affleck could have been very good in their respective roles.
Yeah.
But we don't live in such a world. We live in a world um, where Zack Snyder felt the need to justify Superman within the context of Randian objectivism,
Mm-hmm.
and he thought that Frank Miller was a template for Batman rather than a subversion of Batman.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, what we get is a grizzled, bitter Batman who kills and things.
I that's for next topic. Honestly, we'll get into that. Okay, moving forward because I don't want to like. Right. Coates is attached to a Ryan Coogler directed drama feature entitled "The Wrong Answer" about a math teacher in Atlanta who's scandalized when he looks to get funding for his school by altering his students' test scores. Okay. Uh, Jordan is. All right. That's not really important to anything. I mean, Ryan Coogler is a good director. I mean,
yeah.
So, all right. As a national correspondent for the Atlantic, Coates covered cultural, social, and political issues, specifically that of African Americans and white supremacy. His 2014 cover story for that publication, "The Case for Reparations," started a national conversation on the subject. No, it didn't, as far as I remember.
Yeah, it started a bunch of snooty, aristocratic intellectuals going, "We're such good people," patting each other on the back and shit. But amongst the actual people, it did jack shit.
Right.
Because reparations is a stupid idea because every race was at some point enslaved by every other race on the motherfucking planet.
Mm-hmm.
Because slavery had nothing to do with race, it had to do with economic status, and it had to do with usually people who had been triumphed over in war. Usually slaves were taken as a result of a faction losing in battle. That's
Okay.
how slavery used to work um,
So,
until people in Africa decided that we can just sell inferior tribes to other people and make money off it.
okay. All right. So, Bad City stuff. I've talked to people who have told me that HBO Max is planning a Ben Affleck Batman miniseries after Snyder Cut. Like they already have location scouted out for filming and costumes ready, and the actors signed on. Okay.
I mean, that would be nice. Hopefully, Robert Pattinson will do a decent job too. I mean, I have a lot of faith in Matt Reeves because I mean he's proven himself as a pretty decent director. But yeah, hopefully Robert Pattinson does well in the role as well.
Yeah. All right. It was named the top work of journalism of the decade by the New York University's Charter School of Journalism Institute.
Okay, was it named that for any sort of meritocratic reasons, or was it
Nope.
purely for ideological ego-stroking bullshit?
Probably not.
Because if okay, basic logic issue here, person who wrote this article. If an award doesn't actually correlate with any meaningful standard, then the award is nothing but meaningless self self-congratulatory claptrap. Okay? If you don't actually tie an award to any meaningful standard of this is why this award matters, then the award doesn't matter. And in this case, it seems very much like this is just the aristocracy patting themselves on the back for having empathy for the downtrodden, in air quotes, while not actually understanding or caring enough to ask any of the quote-unquote downtrodden people. And there exactly lies the problem. It's why, despite the fact that so many rich people claim to be quote-unquote socialists, the actual working class, the people that socialism as an ideology is meant to be catered towards, i.e. the workers or the proletariat, depending on how you want to put it, don't actually like large government. And in fact, amongst the actual working class, the ideologies that are the most popular are basic conservatism and some version or other of libertarianism. So therein lies the disconnect. Because if you don't actually talk to people and listen when they tell you things, if you just assume you know better than they do because of some vast conspiratorial abstraction, then you're not going to know dick about the people you're presuming to speak on the behalf of. Yeah, moving on.
I'm back.
Ah,
Yeah, just
I wasn't aware that you left. I ranted for just long enough for you to come back, I guess.
Yep. I got an ice cream sandwich and some cookies. I'm having a sweet tooth right now.
Aha.
Yeah.
And now I'm craving ice cream, you bastard.
Yeah, it's Neapolitan though. I'm not really big on Neapolitan.
Okay. That makes me crave it less. And I did just eat a bag full of gummy bears, so I guess my sweet tooth is momentarily assuaged.
Yeah. Well, I honestly prefer mint chocolate chip.
I mean I can eat almost any ice cream except for chocolate, but honestly my go-to whenever I get ice cream from like an actual ice cream place is soft serve vanilla in a waffle cone with rainbow sprinkles. That's my ideal. And cherries if they have cherries, because cherries and ice cream work together really well. And actually, recently my mom got this ice cream that was vanilla ice cream, but it had cherries actually in the ice cream. So fucking delicious. And it was like two different kinds of cherries too. There were the like black wild cherries, and then there were the maraschino ones too. Delicious.
Yeah. All right. Coates has also written for The Village Voice, Time, and has contributed to the New York Times Magazine, Washington Post, and more. Yeah, none of this makes me think he'll be good on writing a Superman movie, though.
Yeah, no, this is just an appeal to authority. If the content of what he actually wrote is not good or held to any meaningful standard, then this might as well be just a puff piece. This is you saying that he's approved by the powers that be. And in all honesty, the worst thing for an actual creative person to be is approved by the powers that be. Because a level of having to work your ass off to get where you need to go makes for better writing, because it makes for better art, because generally art is better when it's held to standards, not when it's handed to you on a silver platter. That's why Brainstormer is such a great writer, because the man has had a really weird and fucked up life in a lot of ways, and he can translate that level of life experience and understanding of human nature into likable characters and interesting concepts. But a writer who has had everything under the sun handed to them for no other reason than because he can parrot the existing paradigm back at the powers that be is not going to be a good writer, especially not if he's hyper focused on something as arbitrary and inconsequential as race, instead of, oh, I don't know anything else about a person ever.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Um.
which in case anyone missed it, my point there being Ta-Nehisi Coates as a writer has basically had everything handed to him, and therefore is probably a shit writer because he had no excuse to develop an understanding of human nature or logic, and a writer without any understanding of human nature or logic is going to be a shit writer. It simply is the case. It's why one of the things that professional writers tell you to do if you want to become a professional writer is people watch, because understanding human nature allows you to create more well-rounded characters, and more well-rounded characters and more interesting stories lead to good writing.
Okay. So, nonfiction books include The Beautiful Struggle, Between the World and Me, and We Were 8 Years in Power, An American Tragedy. Jesus Christ, these titles are so pretentious.
This person sounds like his head is so far up his ass it would take the jaws of life to put his head back where it belongs.
Between the World and Me won. Between the World and Me won the 2015 National Book Award for Nonfiction.
Did it win on its merits, or did it win because of some self-congratulatory I can't speak today. Congratulatory moral preening bullshit reason? Because I would literally bet money, and I don't even have that much money, but I would literally bet money on the fact that it didn't win on its merits, and in fact the people who gave this award to it probably don't even consider the idea of merit a valid concept. It won because it told the powers that be what they wanted to hear, didn't it? Well, once again, someone who gets everything handed to them on a silver platter because they parrot the established paradigm is not the kind of person who makes a good writer. If you want to be a good writer, you actually have to sand against the grain sometimes. But Ta-Nehisi Coates exists in such a privileged establishment bubble that he probably doesn't even know where the grain is in order to stand against it. And even more so, he probably thinks that he is a poor, oppressed, put upon rebel fighting against the status quo. Meanwhile, he gets nationally syndicated articles in every publication imaginable, and awards fly out of his ass, even though he doesn't actually have any merits for them. And yet he still somehow believes that he's oppressed and entitled to even more from the powers that be.
Mm-hmm.
In short, he is what in colloquial terms is referred to as a bitch. And bitches don't make good writers. And no, that isn't a gendered insult. That's just saying people who are entitled, privileged, and raised in bubbles don't generally have the depth of experience or the depth of creativity or intelligence to be good writers.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Mm-hmm. Of note, Coates has written a Black Panther and Captain America series for Marvel Comics. Coates received a special thanks credit on Avengers Infinity War, Avengers Endgame, and Black Panther.
So did every motherfucking writer who's ever worked with those properties. This means nothing. Again, this is yet another case of the establishment gave him what he wanted because he told them what they wanted to hear. Not because of his merits and not because he actually made any meaningful points, but because he stroked the moral and empathetic egos of the powers that be, which is not good criteria for a writer. In fact, in all honesty, if we're being entirely honest, I'm not convinced you're a good writer unless something you've written pisses people off. Especially people in the ivory tower, as it were. Because part of what being a good writer entails, occasionally at least,
Be
is
right back.
speaking truth to power. Okay. And it doesn't seem like Ta-Nehisi Coates has ever spoken truth to himself, let alone to power. It seems like he goes along with whatever the powers that be tell him to, and they lip service him for basically doing what they want him to do. And you can stack up awards on top of awards on top of awards, but if those awards don't actually correlate with any meaningful standards of excellence or standards of merit, then those awards mean fuck all. In fact, they can mean less than fuck all because they can imply a level of collusion with the powers that be that most meaningful human beings should not have. And now we wait for Brainstormer to return again. Because I can't rant about that much more than I already have.
I'm back with milk.
Huzzah.
It's gonna be a drink. No, it was gonna be a soda, but I didn't want to. Milk is good for your bones. Maybe you should drink more, Dalton.
I drink almost a half gallon a day. I'm kind of surprised that this has never come up before, but yes, I drink a fuck ton of milk because I don't drink soda.
I figured you drink juice, or tea or something like that.
No, I mean I drink tea rather rarely, and juice sometimes, but yeah, mostly milk. To the point that usually every week when my mom gets groceries, she has to get 4 gallons of milk for it to last a week.
I need to drink more milk, honestly. Anyway, Abrams has a big $500 million deal over at Warner Media, which he closed in September 2019. As we first told you in January 2020, Bad Robot and Warner are developing the Justice League Dark universe for film and TV. Justice League Dark, or JLD team, first appeared in September 2011 issue of Justice League Dark #1, featuring
Yes, we know, but this isn't really relevant to anything. And also, if Matt Ryan isn't in that, then I will riot. Matt Ryan is John Constantine for as long as he wishes to be John Constantine, and no other John Constantines need apply. Sorry.
The roster is much larger, and members joined later on, the Swamp Thing being added in issue 19. Given the powers are typically handled situations outside of the scope of the traditional Justice League. Okay. That's it. That's okay. I mean, I got a few things to say because I believe. I mean, this is probably a rumor, and I honestly don't like covering rumors.
Mm-hmm.
But given that it's Ta-Nehisi Coates, there is a chance that they could race swap Superman or Clark Kent specifically.
Yeah. Which would be immeasurably stupid. Not only because that would be ideological woo in place of actual good reasoning, but because based upon how Superman's powers work, a dark-skinned version of Superman would probably be less powerful than a white one. Because his powers revolve around his body's ability to absorb the yellow sunlight of the earth and metabolize it.
But it's not even that. Like I mean, like I would be fine if the actor was selected because they were good at being.
Yeah, but starting from the premise of okay, let's race watch Superman is annoying.
Not to mention
If
that there are. Sorry.
yeah, if it had just been let's cast anyone good for Superman, and it just so happened that the best person to apply was black, I doubt very many people would care.
Yeah. I can't think of actors off the top of my head because Superman is such a. It is kind of a hard character to cast.
Yeah, and
So
also his aesthetic is kind of important to him as a character, so he's one of those characters that would be extremely hard to race swap.
right. But there are also other characters who've taken up like the mantle of Superman who are black, like throughout the decades of comics.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they're not really my favorite of Superman characters because one, they never really lasted long. I mean, there is an Earth 2 Superman from the New 52. Calvin something. But, generally I feel like okay, as a Superman fan, I don't want Ta-Nehisi writing that character because he's gonna fuck him up so much. He's gonna make him basically an apology. Okay, for one thing, he's an alien, so technically he doesn't match any race.
Yeah, but he looks white, therefore guilt.
I
And
know.
he was raised in Kansas, therefore guilt.
John, I know you meant that as a joke, but right now I kind of want to strangle you for saying
No,
that.
no, I know. The fuck you is implied. I get it. It's fine.
Yeah. But no, it's just like it makes no sense because one, they've kind of already fucked up Superman already in movies or cinema.
Yeah, they really haven't done Superman right pretty much since Christopher Reeve.
Which is a shame because I mean they've done him really well on like the small screen. It's the big screen that somehow is always the problem.
Yeah, because the powers that be in Hollywood don't have any faith in Superman as a character.
Motherfucker,
And
he's been around for almost 100 years. How the fuck is he not? How the fuck
be,
do you
be,
not have faith in him?
because being an idealistic paragon means that he's naive somehow, because apparently cynicism and nihilism are the intellectual position.
Oh yeah, no, yeah,
It's yeah,
yeah.
it's the same bullshit I always get angry about. This idea that to grow up you have to grow bitter and broken and cynical. Um,
Um,
it's
hello,
ju- it's ju-
I am the
it's
total opposite of that.
yeah, yeah, it's fundamentally stupid.
Right, but
People who have ideals for certain reasons. And yes, naive idealists do exist, but childish nihilists also exist. The
right.
people who default to cynicism and nihilism in complete defiance of rationality.
What's weird to me is people to Superman. I'm not going to argue is a hard character to get right, but he's not hard to understand.
Unless you make yourself willfully ignorant of him and
Right,
don't
right,
and like willfully don't understand his character.
right. That I'd say that goes without saying, but I'd be wrong.
Yeah, but that's the thing. It's not that these people lack the ability to understand Superman.
They
It's
don't want
that
to.
they don't believe he's worthy of attempting to understand, and they don't want to.
Right.
So,
I mean, like you and I talk a lot, right?
yeah,
And you know how many characters I've created that are based off Superman.
I literally was joking about it with him like right before the stream because he asked me um about a character he was building, and he wanted me to guess which character it was based on, and I literally said, "With you, it's either Superman or Spider-Man."
Yeah.
And his response was, "Yeah, you had it right the first time. It was Superman."
Right.
So yeah,
But like, I honestly should keep a list of how many characters I've created based off Superman, but the fact that I've created so many that I probably need to list them all, one means that I I mean, like, I'm not trying to like hype myself up or anything, but is that I have like a fundamental understanding of Superman character to be able to
yeah,
prod, poke, and play with that character to
yeah, and it also means the archetype as a whole is not dead. So you need to get off the, and that's the other thing. This idea that archetypes or ideals are somehow dead or need to be grown out of is fucking stupid. And again, this is coming from somebody who does not like Superman, but there's a difference between not liking Superman for my reasons, and I have my reasons, versus choosing not to understand how Superman works. And for the most part, it seems like they consider the idea of Superman to be unworthy of consideration,
right.
and that's some bullshit.
And like, okay, I guess it's time for me to go on a little tangent of sorts.
Please,
Um,
I mean, it would be hypocritical of me not to let you go, considering how often I rant.
well, I also want to bring up that there have been like black Supermen in comics. I mean, again, they're not like super well known because like they haven't gotten the notoriety that Superman has, obviously. But I mean, you have
Mm-hmm.
Milestone Comics with Icon, and he is the Paragon character, but he's very different in terms of like beliefs and stuff than Superman, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's, and then like you have also like the Blue Marvel from Marvel. Can't believe that I lost that train of thought. For one thing, that character was created by an actor who wrote that series, which I find really cool. And I like when celebrities are willing to like do that kind of stuff. And there are a lot of celebrities actually who have created characters like that. It's really cool, honestly.
Yeah.
Um, fuck. I mean, like honestly, I would love to see a Milestone universe, cinematic universe, you know, and see those characters because those characters
Yeah.
are really cool and they've never really gotten the light of day.
Yeah. Unfortunately, if such a thing were made in this day and age, they would turn every character into a hype man for BLM.
Okay,
And I can be fairly certain of that because that's exactly what they did do with the character of a Nazi from American Gods. And for those that don't know, a Nazi the Spider is a god of tricks, i.e., he's a trickster god, and
so
he's a god of stories. At
I think
no point in any meaningful way should that translate to BLM, but
plus they're
in American Gods season two,
well, plus they're gods, so they're kind of technically above humans.
they shouldn't really care so much about human considerations like that. But regardless of that, um, in American Gods season two, almost every word out of a Nazi's mouth was a stump speech for Black Lives Matter, and it made it really annoying because he was always framed as in the right and righteous because of essentially him whining every 5 minutes.
Right.
And there was this really great scene that um I don't think the fan base really gave as much credit as it deserved, where a Nazi goes up to Thoth because it being American gods, a lot of gods show up, and one of the reoccurring ones is Mr. Ibis, aka Thoth. And he goes up, and Anazi goes up to Thoth, and he starts into the rant about how his worshippers are being, killed, and if you are taking brown bodies, then you are killing my worshippers, and this, that, and the other. And he's whining at Thoth for being essentially for being neutral and he uses the phrase "sitting at the table between good and evil," which is very much a Thoth thing to do. He doesn't take sides. He does, sit at the table between good and evil and act as the balancing force.
Oh my God, those are.
And so,
No, I'm sorry. Like the actors of like Thoth and Shadow Moon, those are good actors. And I can't believe I didn't think of those actors for like a Superman character or icon, actually.
honestly, I wouldn't mind seeing the actor who plays Mr. Ibis on American Gods play Kent Nielsen. If we were going to race swap Kent Nielsen, Mr. Ibis's actor would be a good choice. But that's neither here nor there. Anyway, back to my description of the scene, because this becomes important. So Anazi goes up to Thoth and he starts ranting and raving and doing the Black Lives Matter stump speech, and Thoth just quietly removes his glasses because, of course, Thoth wears glasses. He's the nerd god. Why not? And he just says two words: "Please continue." And I lost my shit when I went to look up the scene later on, because for some reason the fan base of American Gods believe that scene conveys a Nazi roasting Thoth. When in actuality, what it always looked like to me, at least, was a very, very old, very ancient god slowly losing his patience with a petty child, a petty tantruming child. Because that's what that scene conveyed to me. That scene conveyed to me Thoth essentially going, "I'm losing my patience with you, Spider. I'm too old for this," essentially. And of course, Thoth gets all sorts of shit from the fan base because when the race issue came up in season 2, he literally said, what was the phrase? "My colleagues and I never considered ourselves African. We were the people of the Nile." Meaning, I don't give a shit about the petty race squabbles. I'm more interested in knowledge and writing, because Thoth is a god of knowledge, magic, and writing. So presumably, he cares about anyone who cares about
I did.
knowledge, magic, and writing.
I do have something to say with the Milestone universe. Granted, I haven't really read much of it, but I've done some studying of it. The Milestone comics, like, they tackled a lot of issues and stuff. And when you brought up the BLM thing, I said that really weird first.
Yeah.
I don't mind if they would put that in there, but they have to handle it tactfully and show all.
Not turn every movie into a propaganda piece.
Yeah, pretty much. Because Dwayne McDuffie, he wasn't big on propaganda. He told stories. Granted, again, Milestone was created to allow, to give black artists and writers of the comics a voice, and that's fine.
Yeah,
that's
because he saw that they were being underserved and he wanted to serve them.
Yeah,
and in so doing, created some really, really fucking amazing stories. By the way,
seriously, and I really do think the Milestone universe should be given a lot more credit, and because I think it kind of really was the trailblazer for Image Comics and stuff like that, because it came out before Image, right? A little bit before, yeah.
I believe so. At least by a few years, I think.
Yeah, and I don't know. It's just he. Yeah. Fuck. I had something. Right. Again, Dwayne McDuffie, he told stories, but the fact of the matter is, to tell a story with those kind of political or just issues, you have to be willing to argue the points, all
Yeah.
sides, all
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, you can't assume you already have the right answer and therefore only drill one answer into,
Um,
because that's the difference between that's the difference between philosophizing and moralizing. Moralizing involves we have the one true correct answer and we're going to drill it into you because we're better than you. Philosophizing involves let's examine this issue and look at as many aspects of it as we can to come to some kind of reasonable conclusion.
right. And again, like to kind of bring up a personal example with my writing, and I've told you the stories I've had, right?
Hmm.
And it really touches on a lot of different things, right? And like sometimes I don't even notice things I'm touching upon until like I tell you and you bring that up. And I'm just like, again, I'm trying to focus on
Uh,
telling
yeah,
that.
he created one story to basically be the Hispanic equivalent to Black, but done correctly. And obviously, with the Hispanic, with the Hispanic culture being so heavily influenced by Christianity and in particular Catholicism, when I found that Brainstormer was telling a lot of, or he told stories that had a lot of religious themes, I pointed it out to him, and he goes, "I didn't even notice that." I'm like, "How the fuck did you notice that? I thought that was on purpose."
Yeah, it just kind of happens. It's again, like I just more focused trying to tell a story.
Because he was so focused on telling a good story that he kind of overlooked his own possible themes. But in all honesty, I prefer when writers do that because I think the over reliance on these are the definitive themes is one of the things that
Uh,
cripples modern day writing.
it's kind of why I like it like in some like the early video scripts I would do, I'd always write that there's kind of like a central theme for the story. That was more just again to help me like write everything I needed to, like keep kind of just like a skeletal structure to it.
Yeah, it was writing training wheels basically.
Yeah, but I kind of took them out now because I know what I want the story to be. So whatever themes people pick from that is,
Hmm.
what to each their own. But okay, again, with the whole Ta-Nehisi Coates Superman thing, honestly, I would feel more comfortable if he actually did Icon from Milestone. Mainly
Yeah.
because Icon is a Republican, because he was an alien that crash landed in the 18. He basically grew up a slave. Like he took the form of a black baby, a slave, and for all these years he's because Abraham Lincoln, who freed the slaves, was a Republican, and
Hmm.
he didn't really see the point in changing.
Yeah. So he developed loyalties to the Republican Party and he kept them.
Yeah.
But of course, if Ta-Nehisi Coates wrote Icon, they would change that because
Oh fuck no! That's kind of an important part.
yeah, but you know how modern day writers are. We can't portray a Republican as in any way sympathetic, so we have to
He
change it
is
to make him.
dude, he is okay. He is an alien, but in terms of the story, like to talk their speak,
Hmm.
Icon is a black man who owns a multi-billion-dollar company.
Yeah.
He rose. He legitimately built something out of nothing.
Yep. Doesn't change the fact that they're not ever gonna allow a black Republican who's actually a sympathetic character to exist because that's heresy. They're gonna find some way of changing him to a Democrat somehow. You mark my words. If they ever do an icon, if they ever do an icon movie or an icon show in the foreseeable future, that if anyone on the staff has any of these social justice leanings, especially if it's somebody like Ta-Nehisi Coates, they're gonna find a way to change him to a Democrat,
Granted, I don't.
or they're just not gonna mention it at all.
Well, to be fair, I don't think the Republic. I mean, like it was a thing, obviously, but
Mm-hmm.
I'd have to read some stuff on Icons, really.
From what I've heard of from Mr. E, him being a Republican is kind of important to his character, but I think I think it's sad but true that they would never, the current powers that be in Hollywood would never let that stand.
Mm.
And if they did, it would immediately get the hackles of Twitter up and would be boycotted and canceled within a few minutes, probably. Probably wouldn't even get to the point of getting made. It would probably get canceled before that because of that. If they ever actually did decide to play it straight.
Yeah, whatever. All right.
Or worse yet, they would turn it into his character flaw that he's Republican, and he would have to outgrow the fact that he was Republican, and that would qualify as character development somehow in these people's minds.
Either way, I think we can both agree Ta-Nehisi Coates writing a Superman movie is the worst idea possible. Or one of them. One of the worst ideas possible.
Well, I mean, it could be worse. It could be Kwanzaa.
Shut your fucking mouth. Never say, don't ever say that again. Don't, no.
I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but it could always be worse.
When we meet, that is a noogie, and it's not, it's big old noogie.
I am aware. Brainstormer is going to respond to me first by hugging me and then probably by beating the living fuck out of me. That's just how our friendship works.
Yeah. Okay, so moving on to kind of our last things of this, kind of something big that happened. We're going to review both trailers of Zack Snyder's Justice League that came out in February.
Mm-hmm.
Let me. Okay. So this is the first one. I will say we might, probably review the movie itself, actually. But that will take some time because I have to get an HBO Max account.
Mm-hmm.
It costs money.
And I have to find a mechanism to pirate it because piracy.
So weird the white guy is willing to pirate while the Mexican is willing to go through legitimate means.
I mean, we've already established that I am not a morally upstanding person, and as I often tease Brainstormer for, he has one of the most unwaveringly pure moral compasses of anyone I ever have met. So that explains that. I am a bad person. Brainstormer is not. He is a good boy. So there.
Yeah, you're more anti-hero than you are a villain, honestly.
I appreciate that consideration. You're probably wrong, but I appreciate the consideration nonetheless.
Well, if you ever do try to be a supervillain, I'll just knock the shit out of you.
Yeah, I know. And therein lies the crux of our friendship. I desire to do evil things, and Brainstormer's like, but you shouldn't though. And then I'm like, oh well, I wouldn't normally listen to that, but because you said it, then fine.
Okay.
And the world continues spinning for another day, even though I want to kill everyone on this planet some days.
I mean, I feel that too, but at least I'm willing to not do it. Anyway, shall we banana?
We shall banana.
Oh wait, can you see the screen?
Yes.
Okay.
At least for now.
Okay, well,
StreamYard is probably gonna be a bitch about it, and I'll pop out and come back in. But yeah.
Okay, so I also have captions on in case we can't understand what they're saying.
Mm-hmm.
All right, ready?
Yep. Banana.
Jinx.
Didn't wrong?
Okay, that's 20 seconds. Well, it's definitely a Zack Snyder thing.
Yeah, it's very high on the drama side, but to be fair, at least for now, it comes across as genuine and not edgy.
Little column A, little column B, in my opinion. I
Well,
honestly,
I'm grading a little bit on a curve because this is Zack Snyder, and I know how edgy he can be when he wants to. So I guess I'm giving him props for just not being a edgelord twit
okay,
for 5 minutes.
so say what you know, say what you want about Zack Snyder, because let's be honest, he kind of sucks.
Yeah,
But he knows how to make a trailer.
this is true.
That's what it is. I think I can be as edgy as he is, but at least I have the self awareness to know when I become too edgy.
Yeah. Of course, you also have friends who are willing to pull you back if you get too far. So there's that. I feel like sometimes all these writers and directors would be better off if they could get an outside perspective some of the time.
Yeah. Okay. I got nothing to say because there's not really much. It's like it's typical Zack Snyder dramatization. I said that wrong.
Dramatization.
Dramatization. Thank you, Don.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen the word, but I've never really heard it or like said it.
Uh-huh.
So
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Okay, shall we? Banana?
Yep. Banana.
In the dark, among the stars, the god is dead. I had a dream. Almost like a premonition.
Again, like most of this stuff is from the movie that was actually shot, but because Warner Brothers were being dumbasses, decided not to release the actual thing.
Yeah. Warner Brothers are their own worst enemy most of the time.
Yeah.
The DCEU would be in a much better place if they just stopped meddling every 5 minutes. Also, minor quibble, because I don't know if Brainstorm wanted to point this out, but Superman is not a god. Stop making god comparisons and metaphors about him.
I thought that was implied.
To utilize my favorite Superman quote about Superman, you are strong for a mortal, but a mortal is all you are.
Yeah, I would love to use that and then have have Superman's quip back. Yeah, well, I'm a mortal who doesn't give up. Or something like that. Like
Or something to the effect of mortal is good enough.
yeah.
Of course, in the case of its original context, the person saying that was a Lord of Chaos, so that kind of attitude would probably just get Superman killed very, very quickly. But the general sentiment is a good one, at least.
I thought it was Darkseid at first, like you said that.
No. That quote comes from the Superman the Animated Series episode, Hand of Fate, wherein a character who they call Karkul but has almost nothing to do with Karkul from the comics shows up, and he's allegedly a demon from like the seventh circle of hell or something, and a servant to the Lords of Chaos.
I mean,
Which is why Superman goes looking for Fate, because Fate is apparently the only magic user that this version of Superman knows off the top of his head.
it looks nice cinematically.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Yeah, I still got nothing to say. I mean, like, it's just Zack Snyder stuff. Like, it's stuff I'm used to seeing, honestly.
Yeah. Looks much better than the cinematic version, though.
Theatrical version, you mean?
Yeah, the Whedon Justice League, I guess, is what we're calling it now.
And honestly, I'd call it the Warner version because I think if Joss Whedon had just
Yeah,
built,
if he had actually been allowed to just make a movie from scratch, it probably would have been better too. Because that was the main problem. It was trying to make Zack Snyder fit in a Joss Whedon shaped hole. That was the major problem.
yeah, I mean,
And
like, Joss Whedon knows what to do. Like, he knows what to do when it comes to like making ensemble films, like Avengers, Avengers: Age of Ultron.
Yeah.
He just got fucked over by Disney.
Honestly, I wonder what Infinity War and Endgame would have looked like if Joss Whedon had stayed on.
Well, Infinity War is good. I think if he worked on Endgame, it might have been better.
That is possible. I almost wouldn't want to know what a Joss Whedon Infinity War looks like, because in my opinion, I think that might be the best of the Avengers movies so far.
Yeah. Sorry, tired. Shall we banana?
We shall banana.
If there's an attack coming.
My lord, this world will fall.
I need warriors. I'm building an alliance to defend ourselves.
Okay.
Steppenwolf looks and sounds so much better.
Honestly, I didn't mind his look. I think if they just, because he looks a lot like he does in the comics, specifically like the Earth 2 comics.
Mm-hmm.
Like New 52, Earth 2, and I realized New 52, but I read the Earth 2 comics, I got them in the graphic novel form, but they're good. I like them.
Mm-hmm.
But no, he does look more alien, and like the deleted scene they had, communion in BVS with like him and Luther talking. He does look a lot more like that, obviously.
Yeah.
They just cut out a lot of his stuff, is the thing. Like they cut out a lot of things that for Steppenwolf.
Yeah.
And honestly, and I don't know, like feel free to disagree with me, but I would have preferred him not just having like the army of parademons as like the cannon fodder, but like other villains he quip off of, which is like, and I immediately thought the female Furies.
Yeah, the other residents of Apocalypse, at least, like.
Yeah, like that show the diversity of Apocalypse in terms of like the villains, because there's a lot of bad guys.
Yeah, there's an entire cast of characters just there that you could pull from.
I even had my own fan casting for the female Furies too. Well, okay, so female Furies like we're going to consist of Lashina, because she's usually the leader. Mad Harriet, because you kind of had to have Mad Harriet part of that.
Yeah.
Knockout. I was going to have Karen Gillian play her.
Well, I mean, she is a knockout.
Yeah. She really is my go-to for redhead characters.
I don't really blame you.
I'm granted, I came up with this list like a year ago, and it hasn't really stuck in my head.
Who would you cast as Granny Goodness?
Oh, that's tough, actually. Betty White. would be like my first choice, but that's hard to actually think about because that
I'd go
character is
with
just like
Judi Dench.
Dench. There was a picture here, they showed a shot of Darkseid with. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So Darkseid with Desaad and Granny Goodness. I mean, they look okay. My major problem is the lighting. I get it. There's CGI and all. And
Also, we have to light everything edgy because we're doing the Zack Snyder version now.
well, this takes place in like the Nightmare Vision future thing from Batman.
Mm-hmm.
So that makes sense because it was always it was like a hellscape.
Yeah.
Which
And
makes
of course, if Apocalypse is invading, then they're gonna turn everything into a hellscape anyway, because that's what they do.
right. So I got no problem with that. It's just like I wish there was more kind of there's more dynamic.
A little bit more like texture or something on the characters to make them stand out more, kind of thing.
Yeah. I'll be honest. This looks very much just what's the word? Video game like how people were complaining how Steppenwolf looked like a PS2 character or whatever. This looks like
Although to be fair, the budget for the redo and the reshooting and everything was limited, so
yeah.
this
I mean,
is probably the best they could do.
Yeah, I'm not like it's not a big deal to me. It's just like these are characters that are like epic in terms of the DC stories.
Mm-hmm.
So they just don't have the I'm just not feeling like the gravitas from just this alone. Like in any moment, these kind of characters are on screen. There has to be that bigger than life, bigger than all of existence kind of feel to them, and I'm not getting that.
Because they're gods.
Yeah.
Or at the very least, Darkseid is a god.
An alien god.
Well, more god, less alien, and that's the thing that people never seem to remember about Darkseid is he is technically on par with like the Olympians and like Wonder Woman in terms of the actual level to which he is a god. Like he is a multiversal entity as far as the comics are concerned. Like there's only one of Darkseid in the entire multiverse, and
Yeah.
apparently he can pop up in any of them he wants to.
Yep. Okay. All right. Banana?
But
How do you know your team's strong enough? If you can't bring down the charging bull, then don't wave the red cape at it.
You were sent here for a reason. And even if it takes you the rest of your
Again, this is just stuff we've kind of seen over the years, like from fan posts and stuff. So I'm not exactly.
it's good to see it in in context at least, or some kind of context.
I mean, again, like I'm not. I mean, to be fair, I wasn't really big on Zack Snyder's DC stuff, anyway. So.
But again, I'm fairly certain this is going to be better than the bastardized WB Whedon version, but how much better I don't know.
Mainly, I'm just glad that we're getting this because because I'm all for artistic freedom, and WB
whether we like the guy, whether we like Zack Snyder as a artist or not, or his style or not, He deserves a fair shake,
Yeah.
just like everybody else.
Alright. Hopefully we get more background on the characters as well.
Mhm.
You know, because I feel like there was a lot missing with like a lot of the characters, like specifically like the Flash, Cyborg, and Aquaman.
Yeah.
And when I tried to do a fan edit of this, I did my best to try and like add stuff. That was a pain in the ass with the limited footage I had.
Mhm.
Like for the Cyborg scene, you know, his introduction where like his father tries to talk to him and stuff.
Mhm.
I cut out a lot of his dialogue. Like he's not really talking to his father. He's just analyzing. He's being more like a computer.
Mm.
That was kind of a pain in the ass because I also had to make sure like, well, I had to dim down the shadows to where like you couldn't even see his mouth moving or anything when I cut out his
Mhm.
dialogue.
Yeah.
And like I was also cutting in stuff like graphics of like computer systems and like information downloading.
Uh-huh.
The same goes with the Flash. Like I cut out a lot of his dialogue in scenes. Um, yeah, you know, because it wasn't really needed,
Mm.
and sometimes not talking adds character.
Yeah.
So yeah, real pain in the ass is when he met Batman and cut out a lot of that dialogue.
Mhm.
Anyway,
Yeah. Banana.
banana.
Find out what their reason is.
They said the age of heroes would never come again.
Yeah, I got again like the main issue is because of the faulty foundation that started with Man of Steel. I feel nothing. I have no connection to these characters at all.
Yeah. Like I said, I care in like the meta sense that I'm glad this exists and I'm glad Zack Snyder is getting a fair shake. But in terms of the actual content, I'm like, we'll see. Like maybe they can make me care, but I'm not holding my breath.
Yeah. I mean, maybe Cyborg, but that's an if.
Mm-hmm.
Banana.
Banana.
Oh wait, before we do it, I don't know. Like everything's just. I wish there was more color in these scenes instead of just like the kind of brown grayish bullshit.
Yeah, and
Like
yeah,
it's comic book movies. Comic books have color, most of them.
but his aesthetic is always in the vicinity of like Frank Miller and Alan Moore and all the
Heavy
like
metal.
the. Mm-hmm.
Because I remember that he said in an interview that Zack Snyder said like in an interview that was kind of like the first comics he ever got into.
Yeah,
Which explains his visuals.
it does.
Yeah. All right, banana.
Banana.
It will. It has to. We live in a society.
Sorry, 20-second thing.
Uh-huh.
Banana.
Just a moment. Jared Leto, if you're trying to crib the "We live in a society" line from Joaquin Phoenix, your moment passed, bro. I'm sorry, but it did. You were screwed by Warner Brothers, and I feel bad for you and everything, but you're not this generation's Joker. Joaquin Phoenix is this generation's Joker. Just deal with it, man.
Well, there's still a scene after the trailer. We're gonna. Banana.
Banana.
I do also say I don't. Zack Snyder's Justice League thing again. That's just kind of pretentious to me. Like,
well, I mean, it's
I get it.
differentiated from the.
Like, I get it, but legitimately, you can just call it the Snyder Cut, and everyone get it.
Yeah, yeah. If you're gonna play up the fan reaction, then just it would be nice to just thank the fans for their involvement by calling it what everyone else calls it.
Yeah. All right. Shall we?
Banana.
Banana.
We live in a society where honor is a distant memory. Isn't that right? Batman.
Again, Jared Leto, you can't crib the "We live in a society" from Joaquin Phoenix. It cannot be done. Don't bother.
I will say he looks a lot better than
He even sounds more interesting than he did, because it seemed like when he was in Suicide Squad, he was trying to copy Heath Ledger's Joker voice, kind of, but now he's kind of doing his own thing, and I like it a lot better.
Yeah. Although I do see where people had mentioned like he looks like a crackhead Ronald McDonald.
I mean, they're not wrong, but
it's better to look like
still,
that than
yeah.
whatever the fuck they're doing.
Yeah, in context of this being Zack Snyder's Justice League and it being post-apocalyptic, it makes kind of sense. I feel bad for Jared Leto because basically no matter what he does here, Joaquin Phoenix is the Joker for this generation anyway. In the same way that my generation had Mark Hamill and your generation had Heath Ledger, this generation has Joaquin Phoenix. And he could make the argument that he was screwed by Warner Brothers, and he was screwed by editing, and he was screwed by this, and he was screwed by that. But the facts remain: Joaquin Phoenix is this generation's Joker, and not short of delivering a Heath Ledger style game-changing performance. He's not going to change that. Sorry.
Yeah.
Moving on.
It's a shame.
Banana.
Oh no, we were done with that one.
Yeah. Okay. So next.
Yeah, that would be the Mother Box thing trailer. Yeah, Zack Snyder's Justice League, the Mother Box Origins official exclusive clip from IGN. You can still see the screen, right?
Correct.
Okay, just wanted to check.
Oh, wait a minute. It's stuck on Jared Leto's Joker if you've changed the screen.
I have.
Okay, so let me pop out and pop back in so I can actually follow the visuals.
Give him a sec, folks.
Okay, we're good.
Okay. All right. Yep. All right. All right. This will be the last thing we cover tonight. All right. Yeah. Zack Snyder's Justice League, the Mother Box Origins. It's official exclusive clip from the IGN Fan Fest 2021. Banana.
Banana.
The smart money's on Harlem. Moving
is in the street.
My kingdom for color palette.
That's the song.
Hmm?
That's the song, I assume.
No, it's just me. It's just me requesting more dynamic color.
Well, it's
I
like
don't know.
one of those CGI promos things. So
Mm-hmm.
it's the mother boxes, and so.
Yeah, I don't know what that song is. I like it though. It's a good choice, but
Again, like, is this the same Zack Snyder stuff with the whole pretentious artistry bullshit?
self-congratulations is I think the problem.
Yeah. All right. Banana.
Banana.
In the street. The shadow boys are breaking all the laws. And you're east of East St. Louis, and the wind is making speeches. The rain sounds like a round of applause. Napoleon is weeping.
Okay. Okay. So I think it's kind of trying to do the whole mimicking certain religious iconography with these characters.
Yeah, it's playing up like the mythic roots, I guess.
Which, okay, I get, but like, okay, look, I won't argue. DC Comics characters are always, the whole.
Yeah.
Um,
God's trying to be men instead of Marvel, which is men trying to be God.
Frankly, I disagree with the whole DC thing, but that's a topic for another day. Mainly, I'm just kind of, again, like, I'm just kind of sick of the whole religious iconography thing. Like, it's just so
Yeah,
overplayed, and again, like, it's pretentious.
it's also unnecessary. Comics have their own value. They don't need to steal value from other things. They have their own purpose and their own comics. And this is the other thing. This is why I hate the comics or modern day mythology line, even though, especially in my wing of the universes that I like, you could very well and easily make that argument. Hell, half the characters I like are literally characters from mythology.
I mean,
But
I know. Please finish the thought, and then I'll. Sorry.
yeah, but comics don't need the veneer of modern mythology to be important. Comics have their own value. They don't need to steal, borrow, and beg value from other sources. They have their own purpose. And what's more, they have a new kind of value that you can't get from other media. As as much as it might be self-gratifying to call comics modern day mythology, that's not what they are. That's not what they do. They are their own thing. They don't need to be modern day mythology to be important. They're important on their own terms. And honestly, this need to shove a mythological thesaurus down everyone's throat with the imagery kind of implies that you don't think comics can stand on their own 2 feet, and that's condescending and stupid. It's sort of the idea of don't fix what isn't broken, Well, comics aren't broken, so don't try to fucking fix them by putting a Sistine Chapel coat over everything. Okay, moving on.
Well,
Unless you wanted to say anything.
I mean, like, I got no problem with the whole modern mythology thing, because I'd argue the fact that they have I'm not saying, like, compare them to mythology itself. I say, honestly, they've kind of taken up that kind of reverence that mythology has.
Well, I mean, in the broadest terms, yes, but the argument that they make when people say comics are modern day mythology, what they mean is that the only value of comics is as modern day mythology.
Right. I'm not saying that, obviously.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, you can draw.
Yeah, obviously they're related styles of storytelling because
Mhm.
again, half of the characters that I like personally are characters from mythology.
Right.
But
My thing is, I'm saying that they are characters of epic stories and tales, like those of characters from mythology epics. And
mhm.
again, like you can draw comparison, but they are again fundamentally two very different things.
Yeah, the
But at the end of the
the
day,
other thing. Sorry, go ahead.
well, at the end of the day, they are just stories that have transcended time,
Yeah.
and just are again like have just shaped culture all over the world, essentially.
Yeah.
Due to that, again, their timeless and just fantastical nature. Is how
Mhm.
I'd argue it.
Yeah. But the one very important thing, and the thing I keep coming back to, is comics don't need to be that to be important.
No,
Like
I agree.
as smart and as self-gratifying as it might feel to say comics are modern day mythology and make all these mythological comparisons. The difference between what Brainstormer and I are saying and what the intelligentsia usually say is they would argue that the only purpose comic books have is as modern day mythology. We would argue that the mythological connections of comics are nice, but they're not necessary. In fact, in my opinion at least, one of the things that makes comics so, and in particular superhero comics, so wonderful and so unique is that you can have a universe where stuff from ancient mythology can coexist with stuff from,
I,
science fiction serials and
mhm.
stuff. The scope and scale and um the freedom and universality of comics, and in particular superhero comics, that you can't get in other storytelling, is what makes comics so awesome. The fact that you can have Thor and an android, standing side by side, toe to toe, and it makes sense, or the fact that you can have um the fact that you can have um a detective and a sorcerer standing next to each other, or the fact that you can have the last son of a dead planet, whose capital is in a bottle somewhere in the same universe as somebody like the Question. That's what makes superhero comics awesome. The fact that they can go to more places than any other kind of storytelling. Every other kind of storytelling you can find the footprints of and the fingerprints of in superhero comics, but none of them define what superhero comics are. Superhero comics is their own thing, and that in my opinion is what makes them great, more than almost anything.
Basically, multiple worlds coexist and collide on a daily
Yeah,
basis in comic books. I think is like the general gist of what you're getting at, right?
yeah. Comics can go places that no other genre can go because every other genre has had its impact on superhero comics. And despite what the Frederick Worthams and the um that ilk wanted comics to be, and that is the other thing. Comics are this way because they had to be, because they were faced with adversity, and out of that adversity came creativity.
Uh, shall we eat banana?
We shall banana.
Right.
Weeping in the carnival saloon. His invisible fiance's in the mirror. And the band is going home. It's raining hammers, it's raining nails. It's true, there's nothing left for him down here. Oh, it's time.
I still got nothing. I got nothing. Honestly, it's just again.
I mean, it's very pretty and very well done, but it don't really. There's no context to it, so
No, it's like
meh.
a promo. I think it's like a promo or something because I don't know why they would have this in the movie, unless it's like supposed to be in credits or something.
Or maybe it's like a series of establishing shots of like something that's going to be important to the plot or something. I don't know.
Maybe. It's funny. I find it ironic about myself that I'm complaining about like all this religious iconography in this superhero thing, and yet I'm legitimately writing a superhero story that is legitimately.
Yeah, focused around the nature of like religion and cult mentality and stuff.
Yeah. That is irony if I've ever seen it.
Well, because you're not touching on religion to suck your own ego off. You're touching on religion to examine religion. Whereas this is just let's supply all the fancy iconography and symbolism we can, even though it doesn't signify anything.
Yeah. I mean, the only one who
To make ourselves feel smarter and better and
the only way
more pretentious.
the whole thing with like the God thing would make sense with like Diana.
Yeah, because
Like
she's
some of the
literally from out of mythology.
yeah. Okay. Banana.
Banana.
Oh, it's time, time, time. It's time, time, time. And it's time, time, time that you love. It's time, time.
Oh my god, I hate that shot at Superman so much.
Let it out.
Well, no, look. I mean, like, okay, like he has his arms raised, and basically, like, there's a sun around his head, which signifies like a saint.
Yeah, and the pose is almost like Christ on the cross kind of thing.
It's just like, oh my god, Superman has never been a god. People can look at him like a god. I won't argue that. That'd be an interesting story to explore that.
Yeah, but he's just a man.
Yeah, he's a guy who has a 9 to 5 job. He's a reporter. He grew up middle class farmer.
In rural Kansas,
He
which
went.
is even more Sticksville than I am.
Eh,
What you're actually gonna argue that I'm more of a hillbilly than Clark Kent is?
yes, but it's just like I don't get it. Why? Why do you idiots feel like? Why do you have to elevate a superhero to be above you?
Because the only part of Superman they find relatable or worth addressing is the power. They don't actually feel any need to address the idealism or the paragon nature because they actually consider his idealism and his paragon nature to be weaknesses or to be childish uh childish notions that he needs to grow out of.
Oh my god, I want to hit something so bad, but I don't want to break my desk or anything.
Yeah, I again, I don't even like Superman, and I'm right there with you because this is stupid shit. And
Like,
not only does this apply to Superman, but it applies to other characters that I care about a lot more because they do the same shit with like Doctor Fate and Doctor Strange and all my other characters. basically everyone but John Constantine, because John Constantine being street level, they can understand, but every other like cosmic or mystical entity, they seem to do this shit with. Like we can't have them actually hold to consistent principles for the sake of consistent principles. We have to tear them down and make them shitty and weak and pathetic and yeah.
The dude has his flaws. He has issues. Again, like, he's a middle class dude who's just trying to do the best he can. He's trying to help people. Again, I'm not trying to stroke my own ego or anything, but legitimately, I relate a lot to Superman in that regard.
Yeah.
You know?
And trust me, folks, I've heard a lot about Brainstormer's personal backstory and his personal issues. He's not just whistling Dixie. He is probably the most moral person I know, and to the point that, in fact, whenever I think about doing bad things, I often ask myself, what would Brainstormer do in this situation?
Yeah, but again, like, why would you elevate superheroes to be above you when they're... I mean, like, there are certain heroes that kind of can't interact with humanity on the fact of what they do. You know, like, I can understand Dr. Fate or Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
You know?
Because what they do involves not being involved with humanity.
Yeah, I get that. But
they can't afford that closeness.
right, yeah. Again,
But with
like,
Superman, it doesn't work because he
doesn't
is
care.
still the big blue Boy Scout. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, he doesn't care about the greater good like I do. Again, that's he cares about, like, the common good, about helping as many people as possible individually. Like, he cares about
Also,
the individual, not, he cares about the
yeah.
few
Also,
and the many. Like, he's...
yeah. Also, as a general rule, the concept of the greater good can go fuck itself.
Yeah, I didn't want to say that because, like, it wasn't, like, important to the discussion right now.
Yeah, but just in general, whenever anyone defers to the greater good, knock them the fuck out because they are dangerous idiots.
Yeah, but again, like, he's no god. You shouldn't elevate a guy who's trying to help as many people as possible and do everything he can because he has kind of the responsibility to with the powers he has. And honestly, he has such humility that he legitimately hates that he can't do more.
Yeah,
like, he thinks what he does.
That's part of the reason I think they do it, because they can't understand how someone as powerful as Superman could still be human. They can't understand how he still has those vulnerabilities.
Because he was
But
by kind and loving parents, human parents that adopted him right away and didn't try to, like, I don't know, fucking kill him.
yeah, but by elevating him, they actually make him simpler, which makes him easier to process, I think. And or easier to tear down if they feel like
it's the reason why I hate
down.
Homelander. It's the reason why I hate Homelander, because he does have that god complex. He alienates himself. Like, I think there's a part of him that wants to be human, that wants to feel a human connection, but he's incapable.
But he can't because he was traumatized and basically turned into a self-aggrandizing narcissist.
Yeah, and I feel bad for him. I mean, like, I still think he's a piece of shit, but
Yeah, but he was made a piece of shit by his upbringing.
Yeah. But Superman, he got lucky. He got raised right. Granted, I do think there's an inherent good nature to him, but it also does matter where he's brought up. Like in Superman Red Son, he's still a good man, but he has the ideas and...
But he's fucking traumatized by communist ideology because fuck you.
Yeah. But again, my point still stands: is that Superman will never will be and never should be considered a god, because he's not on many levels, actually, not
Yeah.
just personality. He's not as strong as one.
Yeah. As I always say, the thing that baffles me about people projecting all this god shit onto Superman is there are actual literal gods within the DC universe that for some reason don't get any attention because everyone's so busy fawning over Superman.
But
And I'm not complaining about that, but my my point is that it doesn't make sense for you to worship this human, for lack of a better term, like a god, when there are actual literal gods usually standing right next to him, because he usually has, Wonder Woman next to him on some level, and Wonder Woman is a literal demigoddess, but for some reason,
um,
fuck actually treating her like we should treat her, because we have to, aggrandize Superman for the 500th time. And the sick thing is, Superman
don't.
doesn't. Sorry. Go ahead.
Well, no, I feel like you were going to go on such a tangent that
Okay, well, I was just gonna point out that ironically, Clark doesn't even want the kind of, you know, gratification and worship that these kinds of people want to give to him. Um, that's the ironic thing is the more people treat him like a god, the more he feels guilty and unworthy. So it doesn't really make sense for his character either.
yeah. God, Superman's got fucked over so much, and it really pisses me off.
Yeah, I'm right there. I'm right there with you, buddy. I mean, just look at all the retcons of Doctor Fate over the years. And I'm not like trying to compete or anything. I'm just saying, like, a lot of my favorite characters have gotten fucked over too.
I mean, first Man of Steel, then Bendis, now Ta-Nehisi Coates.
And then the Snyder Cut.
I'm holding my opinions on the Snyder Cut until it's like actually out and I've watched it a few times.
Yeah, yeah. Again, it might be good, but this whole Christ-like imagery with Superman thing is getting old. I agree.
Yeah. Banana?
Banana.
And it's time. It's time. It's time.
Okay, Wonder Woman. It makes sense for her, like, legitimately it does. Because she literally is a demigod goddess.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Not really. I mean, maybe Aquaman. There could be an argument made for him.
Because I mean, the Atlantean connection maybe,
Yeah.
or how even kind of Shazam, because he has, power of Zeus, wisdom of Solomon, strength of Hercules, all the yada yada yada.
Yeah.
So maybe, and if ever they bring in Dr. Fate or the Spectre, that will have some argument, or the Phantom Stranger, because the Phantom Stranger, at least in my preferred backstory for the Phantom Stranger, he's an angel who didn't take either side in the war in heaven, so he is forced to walk the earth in between worlds, essentially. So that, you can make the argument with the Phantom Stranger, but
I think there's a short on like the Batman Soul of the Dragon, like anime movie that came out.
Mhm.
You know, like how they do those animated shorts.
Yeah.
There's one of the Phantom Stranger.
I will have to look that up. I remember a little while ago. I don't remember when it came out, but they did one for Death too.
Yeah, I remember you sent me that clip. I haven't been able to find the full thing. Weird.
Hmm.
All right. I don't know.
Banana.
It's time to
March 18th. Yeah, I'm 50-50 on this. Like, I could take it or leave it.
Like I said, I think it'll probably be better than Man of Steel. It'll probably be better than
BVS.
BDS. It'll probably be better than the Whedon version. It'll probably be better than the David Ayer Suicide Squad, but
Granted,
will it actually be
that's not-
good?
Granted, all those are not really saying much. That's a pretty lowered bar.
Yeah, no. Those are not high bars. That is a sign of just how long it took Warner Brothers to get their heads out of their asses. But yeah, I don't expect it'll be anywhere near as good as Shazam or Aquaman or Wonder Woman, either of them, or certainly not Joker. If this is anywhere in the vicinity of Joker, I will eat my hat.
I doubt it, but again, like I'll watch it, I'll review it, but like again, like I don't know these characters enough to have any type of emotional connection to them, and I'm just more interested to see what was all taken out. Like what again? Like I'm more just
Yeah.
wanting to watch.
What was Zack Snyder's original vision, basically?
Yeah. Again, like I'm just glad this movie got out because of just for the means of artistic freedom.
Yeah. All hail artistic freedom, even for mouth breathing fuckwits like Zack Snyder, who I am convinced does not know how superheroes work. But never mind.
No, he does not. So yeah, folks, I want to say goodbye, adios, aloha, auf Wiedersehen, sayonara, peace, cheers, and